Hey everybody, I'm Bill Faith and welcome to the Paid Traffic Show. We are one day late because I couldn't get Mark to get out of bed in time. He was too busy opening Christmas presents yesterday morning. Just kidding. We don't want to do this on Christmas, but we are bringing it to you today. I am joined by my good friend from somewhere between Sacramento and Lake Tahoe. How are you doing today, Mark?
Pretty good, Bill. Good to be here, man. I'm coming at you from the woods here up in Forest Hill.
I love it. I love it.
Hopefully my internet keeps up.
So, Mark, first question of the day. What did Santa bring you yesterday?
What's that? I'm sorry?
What did Santa bring you yesterday?
You know what? Actually, not too much. My family isn't really big on gift giving. We always get stuff from my parents. So I think my mom got me a travel kit. But yeah, we don't really do presents that much. That stopped when we were like kids.
Just share the love, right? That's all. That's what Christmas is all about.
It's all about giving, right?
Exactly. So we got a lot of great stuff on tap for you guys today. But before we dive in, just in case you're watching this live or even on the replay, as of maybe Friday of last week, we are now available on every podcast channel available, from Anchor to Google Podcasts to iTunes Podcasts, Stitcher, you name it. Any place you listen to a podcast, all you got to do is just log in, type in The Paid Traffic Show, and you will see Mark and my ugly mugs there in case you miss an episode, or if you're just driving to a pickup and you want to catch some paid traffic insight, join us on the podcast. And you can also check it out on the Limo University YouTube channel. So, Mark, we're already down. We're about a minute 30 in. For those of you that are watching this for the first time, you can see the countdown timer in the bottom left-hand side. This is a 30-minute show, and let's get started, Mark.
Cool. So, Bill, first question for you. How important is copy and creative?
Copy and creative in your ads. So I think there's a little bit different answer based on Google ads or Facebook ads. In Facebook ads, I would tell you there's two critical components. One, the creative is the most important part of it. And two is going to be the headline, which is what goes right underneath the video or the image. So that part of the copy is the most important component on the copy side. But the image, the video that you put in, it has to be attention grabbing. That's why we see like promo. If you ever heard of the video platform promo, and you see the Santa moonwalking backwards on the moon and doing the crazy stuff, right? Because that creative is eye-catching. What we want to do is get people to stop scrolling in their news feeds. On Google Ads, we don't have creative, so it's really about writing compelling copy. But Mark, that's really your specialty. So I want to kind of divert this back to you. And some things that I see is I see people kind of staying in the middle. You know, they're not being aggressive with their copy. They're not really doing anything dynamic. It's like, hey, call us. We're the best company in ABC City. Or, hey, we've got limo buses. I don't see people, really getting creative with their copy. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so when I search and do a search, and when I'm creating ads, I like to first check and see what all of my competitors are doing, and then do something different. Because a lot of times you'll see everyone saying the same exact thing. And this even happens with me when I create ads. I've noticed, because I run ads in a lot of different markets, a lot of people start copying my ads, and then I eventually have to change my own ads because everyone starts copying those ads. And so you constantly have to innovate and come up with new ad copy. And so really what you want to be talking about, you don't want to say you're the best, you're the greatest. No one cares about you. Remember, it's all about what's in it for me. And so you want to be talking about benefits. What's in it for them? What do they get? So that's what I would focus on when writing your ads. Just make sure they're different than what other people are doing. And also, I like to use numbers and symbols in my ads, especially in the first headline. That can usually make them stand out. Unless everyone else is using the same numbers and symbols, you're going to want to do something different.
So what does that mean, using numbers and symbols? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to, because I'm really good at doing that. Give me an example. Are you talking about just trying to sell something? So what's the difference if we're in tofu, mofu or bofu, top of the funnel stuff? Would you use something like top 3, reasons to book a party bus for your wine tour in Temecula? Or what are you talking about, like using numbers?
So by using numbers, I mean, so like what I used to do for a lot of my ads would say number 1, just to have a symbol there, and no one else was doing it. Now everyone's putting number one in their ads. So switching it up, putting a price in there, even if that might be your hourly price or the lowest price you offer, putting some sort of number in there, because they've done tons of tests on this stuff, and typically ads that have numbers, precise numbers, not rounded off numbers, typically have higher click-through rates, and that can definitely improve your campaign. The higher your click-through rate, definitely the better your campaign performs, because Google's then making more money. And what does Google want to do? They want to make more money. And so they like it when people are clicking on the ads. So numbers are the way to go, in my opinion, and symbols.
Awesome. Cool. Any specific types of symbols? Are you talking like exclamation points or arrows, or what are you referring to there?
Yeah, you have to be careful with exclamation points. I believe Google lets you do one per ad, but like the number symbol, the money symbol, things like that.
And you know what? You don't see very many in them. One of the best kinds, we're talking about copy. If you guys do a Google search or just look for like Omaha Steaks, it's an example I've used in some of our boot camps. One, their ad copy is awesome. And two, they take great advantage of extensions. And since we're talking about copy, what is your opinion, Mark, on using Google Ads extensions? Because it gives you room. You're basically buying more real estate. One, you get to put in more links, but two, you get to put in more copy. Do you use extensions?
Oh, yeah. I use every extension I possibly can. And here's why you should. So I'll give you an example. A week ago, I created a campaign for a new client, and I checked out his click-through rate, which is out of, let's say, 100 people, how many people actually clicked on your ad that did a search. So I checked his click-through rate on mobile versus desktop. And desktop shows more extensions than mobile does, right, typically. And I noticed his mobile click-through rate was really high, and his desktop was actually really low. I'm like, what's going on here? And the first thing that popped in my mind was, did I add all of the extensions I possibly could? I went in there and I noticed somehow that had fallen through the cracks, and we hadn't added site link extensions. Those are the links you see under the main headline of an ad, the main clickable headline. Those are called site links, and they go to additional pages on your site. So that's one ad extension. Another one is when your phone number shows up in your ad. That's another extension when they can, click to call that. They can text you sometimes. There's promotion extensions. There's structured snippets. Tons of different extensions. And essentially what they do is they make your ad that much larger. They give you that much more room. And across the board, ads with a lot of different extensions always are going to perform better because they take up more real estate. One thing you must remember, and a lot of my clients get confused by this a lot, is they say, why is my number not showing and this other guy's is? Well, you have to understand Google, the algorithm decides which extensions are shown. And the algorithm constantly every day is split testing and testing your ad with different extensions, because it's trying to optimize for making the most money for Google. And so if they make the most money by showing two of these extensions you have and not the other ones, that's the ones they're going to show. So the extensions you have showing are always going to be changing.
So I think what you just said might scare a few people. Well, Google's controlling your extensions, and Google's there to make more money for themselves. Well, 100% you're correct. I agree with you. The reason you guys shouldn't worry is if Google was out to screw you and they weren't optimizing you to make money, they know you're going to leave. So it's mutually beneficial because their algorithm is way smarter than any testing most of you would do on your own to trust their algorithm. The other thing I look at, Mark, is the post click-through on an extension. The conversion rate is way higher for most people that are using extensions correctly, right? Because it's going to that targeted piece of content as opposed to typically going to a homepage or being very, very vague. Whether it's, different link extensions, whether it's promo extensions, whatever that is. Are you seeing that in how you're leveraging extensions? And it gives you more opportunity for clicks, right? within the ad?
Yeah, so I've noticed that certain extensions, depending on their ad text. So how I set up my campaigns is all of my site links, they all go to a very similar page that has a form above the fold and a phone number. A lot of people send their site links to the fleet page, the About Us page. They send their site links to the services page. Look, guys, that's usually not a good idea unless those pages have certain elements like a form above the fold, a really big clickable phone number. Then sure, you can send them to those pages, but you want to make sure you're sending them to a page that's optimized for conversion. That's the most important thing, and not sending them to your About Us page, because the truth is, and you shouldn't even link to your About Us page because really no one cares.
Should you link to should you link to your fleet page?
To your fleet page? I mean, the truth is, I've done it with campaigns, and I've always noticed the campaigns that do the best, I don't even use, so this is a little secret for you guys, I don't even use fleet different website pages. I put benefits as the links. Mm-hmm. So all-inclusive rates, 24/7 customer service, complimentary wait time, free cancellation, if you offer those things, of course. Those are the things I put in the links. I don't put fleet, and because everyone else, think about it, everyone else is doing that. So
they're just putting in the name. They're just putting in the names of their URLs. Hey, About Us, fleet page, roadshow page, airport transportation page, all the same bullshit that you see everybody else do, right?
Exactly.
So when they're navigating this way, Mark's going to the right, right? And that's where you're coming up with really your call to action, which is based on the interest that you've seen out of the buyers. Am I correct in that assumption?
That's 100% it. And if you guys want to figure out what to put there, look, how I came up with all of this stuff is I went through dozens and dozens of Yelp profiles, and I was reading what are people most bothered by with limo companies, what really, grinds their gears.
Right.
And so I would go through and I would note, okay, how much is this coming up? How much is this coming up? And then those would be the benefits I would talk about in my ads.
So you're actually doing market research on Yelp to see what people are complaining about or what they're getting really excited about, right? Not anything really in the middle, the highs and the lows, correct?
Exactly, because you'll find that it's usually a handful of things that really bother people. And a lot of the things I just mentioned as benefits are things I actually use in my own ads, because that's a lot of times, people, for example, hidden fees. People hate that. Okay.
That's a big problem in our industry. People, charge, it's $59 plus 3% STC surcharge, plus 18 or 20% gratuity, plus 7 or 9% fuel surcharge, plus a booking fee. I mean, people get freaking frustrated over that stuff. It's like traveling with Delta Airlines versus Southwest.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I just booked a flight the other day, and that angered me. Look, at the end of the day, never sacrifice short-term gain for the long term.
Amen.
And I think when you piss off your customers, things like sending spam emails, there's so many examples that companies, for short-term profit, they sacrifice the trust of their customers, which that's your biggest asset.
Right. I agree 100%. Mark, what's the deal with irrelevant clicks? First of all, what is an irrelevant click? And how do I stop getting irrelevant clicks?
Great question. So irrelevant clicks happen when someone is searching for something that is likely similar to what you offer, but it isn't exactly what you offer. Let me give you an example. So I audited a campaign, probably the worst one I've ever seen in my career, about 1.5 years ago. And it was a company based in Seattle. And I looked and I could see that they were spending at least $500 a month on people that were searching for SeaTac Airport. So someone would search for SeaTac Airport, possibly for directions or some other reason. And his ad, because of how he had structured his campaign using broad match keywords, which I've talked about at length before, he was using a lot of broad match keywords. And so one of his keywords was SeaTac car service. And because he was using a broad match keyword, Google's algorithm said, oh, okay, SeaTac airport car service, that's kind of like SeaTac airport. So let's show this guy's ad when people are searching for SeaTac airport. Now, out of the thousands of people that were searching that, very few people clicked on it. And the ones that clicked on it were clicking on it by accident. They thought they were going to the airport's website or looking for directions. And then they automatically click back. And he was wasting a huge amount of money every month on just people looking for the airport. I see this happen with companies that, for instance, do wine tours. And they are going after traffic that is looking for a particular winery. And whether they do this by mistake or they actually think, oh, I should put my ad in front of someone that's going to be going to a winery because they might be interested in a wine tour. I mean, I get why they do it, but it doesn't work. Because if someone's looking for a particular winery, they're looking for a particular winery. Is there a minuscule chance that maybe they'll see your ad and book your service? Sure, there is. But Google Ads is all about finding the most qualified candidates and putting your ad in front of them. The less and less qualified the candidate, the more you spend to acquire that client. So we really just want to go after those searchers, those potential clients that are looking for exactly what we offer, exactly where we offer it. So I would say irrelevant clicks are probably one of the biggest problems I see in all campaigns. And most people are wasting 40 to 50% of their budget on them.
Well, I think in the reality that happens, Mark, is the owner operator is typically dictating to the person. Well, one, they're either managing their own ad campaigns, or two, they're dictating to the person that's managing it who, when, what, why, and how they want to go after their targets, right? And they're uneducated. And I think the wine tours is a really good example, because what most people think is, okay, I'm willing to spend, let's just say, $3 a click to go after that winery in Paso Robles or in Napa Valley. And let's just use Camus as an example in Napa Valley. Well, what I'm hearing you say, and just to put this in layman's terms for the people watching this video, because I'm 100% on the same page with you, is when the consumer is searching for Camus Vineyards or Camus Winery, your limousine, your shuttle service, your wine tour, your motor coach company is not relevant at all. So one, you're either going to pay probably 2 or 3x, meaning $6 for that click, right? And then what's going to happen is Google sees, if you have Google Analytics installed on your website, what your bounce rate is. And when you have an 80% bounce rate, that tells Google that your limocompany.com is not relevant for the search that Mark and Bill have just done for Camus wineries. So now they're not going to show your ad, or if they are, it's when they're optimizing to make themselves money, because there's nothing that's really relevant. So instead of charging you $2, they're going to charge you $8 or $10 a click next time. Is that a pretty fair assumption, Mark?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, because again, the algorithm is structured to, make Google the most money. But like you said, they care just as much about their clients. It's a symbiotic relationship. They're not, obviously, if they burn their clients, then everything goes away.
Yep.
But that's 100% correct, because what happens when you have the wrong keywords and your ads are irrelevant to the search, that is telling Google that, I set this campaign up incorrectly, and this campaign will not be profitable to you because no one's clicking on the actual ads. So what do they do? So it's built in the algorithm to punish that advertiser. How do they punish? They make you pay more per click. Yep. And so it's really important that when you build a campaign, you only put your ads in front of the most relevant audience. And that's going to get you a higher click-through rate, which gives you a lower cost per click, which gives you a lower cost per conversion, which gives you a lower cost per client acquisition. So,
and hopefully longer-term value. So
Yeah.
the same premise that we're discussing for Google Ads applies with Facebook ads as well. There is no difference. If I'm targeting, Camus Vineyards in a Facebook ad, and then I send them to my wine tour page, you're probably going to have about a 95, 96% bounce rate, maybe even higher, 97%, 98%. Well, you might be running a video, and for the first day, you might get, 2-cent video views or 38-cent, CTR to go to your sales page. But I promise you, when you get into day 2, day 3, that's probably going to skyrocket. That's why they have relevancy scores. That's why they have quality scores. That's why you need to keep an eye on those relevancy and quality scores and understand, since day one of the paid traffic show, and really since probably Mark's been educating in this industry, since I've been educating in this industry, that's why we talk about relevant content from your ad to your sales page, to your offer, to your company, and making sure that it's all consistent from the very first click.
Yep. You got it.
You got any questions for me, Mark?
Yeah, definitely. So, Bill, how do I use lookalike audiences and Facebook ads?
How do I use lookalike audiences and Facebook ads? I've talked about this a few times. It's a little bit more technical. I mean, we've taught our LabX members how to do this, but it's not that difficult. It's pretty easy. Chris or I could probably do a 3-4 minute screencast and show somebody how to use a lookalike list. First thing that I would do is I export my top 10 or 20% of my clients out of my software, and I put them into a custom audience. And that could be my top corporate customers. And then I click a couple of buttons inside of Facebook, and I would actually have Facebook find people that look just like my top 10% or 20% of my customers, and then they create a whole new custom audience. So if you really want to get tricky, that's where you segment by your buyer persona. And so if it was me today inside the limit, if I own my own limo company again, I would have my travel managers in one list, because you only need 20 people to make up a custom audience, right? That's it, 20. So I'd have at least 20 travel managers, 20 DMCs or event managers, 20 executive admins. If I'm selling motor coaches, I might have 20 youth ministers. I might have 20 athletic directors. And then what happens is you hear me talk a lot about data mining and prospecting on LinkedIn. Facebook does that for you, and they find everybody on a match, and you can set 1% match, 5% match. I always stay to the top 1%, so I find people exactly the same as my most profitable customers. And then you can start serving ads to them. And it's not really something that I see that happens a whole lot inside of our industry. So for me, it's one of the most cost-efficient ways to be able to leverage your existing client base that is profitable for you to go out and find new potential customers just like them. And then I would serve them up a video ad to introduce your brand to them, because it's the lowest cost at 1 to 2 cents per view.
Very nice.
Yeah, buddy, that's what I'm talking about. That's what this show's all about, Mark. Driving value on the paid traffic. You're kicking ass today, my friend. And on that, what's the deal with conversion rate, and why does it matter?
So conversion rate, it can be a couple different things. So one, it can be the most common application for conversion rate is when someone lands on your page. So they did a search, they clicked on your ad, they landed on your page, and what percentage of those people that end up on your page after they clicked on your ad are going to turn into either a lead, or if they're booking through like a Limo Anywhere, or they're buying some sort of a product, if you do e-commerce or something like that, that's a conversion essentially. But most commonly in service-based businesses, they are leads. And so what we want to do is get the highest percentage of people that have clicked on our ads to actually convert. And that, again, means calling. They could be filling out some sort of contact form. And so how do we do that? Well, it's typically certain elements you want on your page. And these elements are things like, one, and most importantly, you want to have a large phone number above the fold. That means before you start scrolling. Okay, so if you're on mobile, you're going to want your phone number at the very top of the screen, big, and you want it clickable. Do not have it as an image. I still see that where they will have their phone number as an image. Someone's got to memorize that number and then get out of their browser and type it in. You're just burning sales if you're doing that. So you want a phone number above the fold. You want either, maybe a booking form or a quick quote form above the fold as well, so that it's right in front of them as soon as they land on your desktop site or your mobile site. So those are the two most crucial elements. Other things are things like you want to talk about benefits, have some reviews from actual clients on your site. If you have photos that aren't stock photos, I'm telling you, they work so much better than stock images, because everyone knows when they see a stock image, and people want to get a sense for you and your business. And even having a video, that's what I suggest for all of my clients. Get a video made where you have the owner, hey, welcome, introducing themselves. Then you're not just some anonymous face behind some website. It makes it so much more personal. And that's going to increase your conversion rate. What's a good conversion rate? I would say in this industry, anywhere from 20 to I've seen up to 35% is good. For most websites that are not optimized for conversions, it could be 10% or less. And so that's going to get very expensive.
That's all great stuff, Mark. It's interesting because I kind of feel like deja vu. You sound like Brian Halligan, the founder of HubSpot, preaching about the personalization and everything. It's interesting that you bring up stock photos. HubSpot actually did it. Man, I think they tracked, it was like 10,000 websites in 2013 or 14 and found sites that use real images versus stock images. And don't hold me to this because it's been a while, but literally it's like 30 to 40% higher conversion, 30 to 40% higher conversion rates. So I'm with you 100% on conversion. And I think what most people track, Mark, is really the conversion rate that they think of is really just their click-through rate on their Google ad or their click-through rate on their Facebook ad. And then they stop. What they don't understand is that, look, the ad's working if it's driving traffic to your sales page or if it's driving traffic to click to call, whatever that is. What happens next is typically a deficiency in your sales page, or if it's in the operations of the sales process if you're doing click to call. You agree with that or disagree?
Oh yeah, 100%. And one of the largest mistakes I see is someone might spend a couple thousand a month doing Google ads or even Facebook ads and not spend any money on landing pages. Landing pages are a force multiplier. Because think of it this way, if you can raise your conversion rate from 10% to 20%, okay, by spending some money on real photos, getting a real video made, and some really good landing pages, that might cost you, let's say, $2,000 or $3,000. And let's say you're spending $2,000 a month on Google Ads. That's $24,000 a year, okay? And let's say you're getting 1,000 leads for $24,000 a year. If you redo your landing pages, get a video made, get some good photos, you can literally double the number of leads you get. So it's like you're spending $48,000 and you just got that for a few $1,000s and you only have to make the investment once. So get real images, guys, get good videos, because it's like compound interest. They're going to just keep making more and more money for you.
Did you guys see that vein popping out of his forehead right there? Mark was getting pretty into it, pretty excited there. I mean, that's how important this shit is. And it's funny, everybody kind of relies just on the ad. As we talked about at the beginning of the show, it starts with great copy. It starts with great creative. And this kind of goes into the last question. We're running out of time. We only got 50 seconds left. But there's a difference between the top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, and the bottom of the funnel. And Mark, we'll save this question for the next show. I'm going to let you take a stab. Explain to them the difference between top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, and middle of the funnel. So that way they understand as they're putting their ads there. Because I think most people are doing this on their own. We got 30 seconds.
Yeah, of course. So top of the funnel is when someone might not even be completely aware of you. That's something that Facebook ads is great for. Let's say they have a wedding coming up Someone knows they're going to need transportation in the future. Middle of the funnel, they might be looking for pricing or reviews for like a limo company or for whatever kind of company. And then bottom of the funnel, they're searching for that service and they need it now. That's probably the easiest way to explain it.
Great explanation, Mark. Thank you for joining me on the day after Christmas. Everybody out there, thank you. We hope you guys had a tremendous holiday. We look forward to seeing you next week on the Paid Traffic Show, Tuesday, January 2nd, 1 p.m. Central. That's 2 p.m. Eastern. And if you're just jumping in on the back end, you can catch us on a podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, on Apple, on Google, on Stitcher, you name it. We're there. Just type in the Paid Traffic Show. Mark, I'll see you next week. Have a great week, everybody.